Okay, introduction to the end cap video, 6th of the 6th, 2022. So that's the 6th of the 6th, 2022. So today or yesterday, 1 year ago, this work was finished, and we decided we'd wait 1 year just to see how it all went. And there's two types of silicon. One's the bathroom wet area silicon, and this is the standard roof and gutter silicon. We can see that it's lifted a little bit more with the roof and gutter silicon, it seems to me, over the long term. But all in all, it's done much better than I thought it would. It's sitting down there. I didn't want to put any holes in it for rivets or screws. I decided I wanted to stick it down, and the best thing I could find was silicon. However, a year later, it's looking fairly good with the roof and gutter silicon and the wet area silicon. We can see here, for instance, that that's completely stuck down a year later, whereas this one here, this is the sort of thing we get with the roof and gutter silicon. Okay, so the problem here is that it'll stick very well to the tin, but not to the plastic. This is a very hard type of plastic. It's got a contour that goes down in toward the gutter there. The reason for this work is because in heavy rain, the rain used to blow up in the void between the bottom of the tin here and the roof lining. So it used to get up in here, and then it had come down behind the fascia, and that would have caused rot. So this is a good way of stopping any moisture getting in between the tin sheet and lining underneath amongst that cavity. Also, I put sponge. I raised the height of the gutter in this section here, I think, and I put foam expandable, not expandable foam out of a can, but expandable foam that you buy in a bag, and you just press it down and it slowly releases. So that was put on the back edge of the gutter and up against the underneath of the tin roof. So this is an example of the interior bathroom silicon, and we can see here that it has stuck down better. Okay, it has done a better job with this hard plastic cover there. We can see that it's all stuck down and hasn't really come away anywhere seriously. So this has done a better job. Also, putting this the silicon, which is very hard, I can't seem to peel it away from the plastic. Okay, won't come away from the plastic. Here we see another one. I'll try and get that off, and that's not going to budge. So yeah, so if you watch the video, you'll see all the particulars of the work done a year ago. This was I did use sandpaper on the underneath of this to scuff it up and give it a key for the silicon to bond onto with this section. And this section I'm very confident about, so I'll just go across that a little bit. Which way is the sun going? I can't really tell if the shade is blocking the video, but there you go, you might be able to see there. So that's confidence inspiring. We're now on the right hand side. That was the left hand side. I'll go in a different direction so the shade doesn't get in the video. So this is the the roof and gutter silicone, and we'll see that it's not as good as the other sort, so I'll just pan along there a bit. And now the wet area silicone again. So okay, I think that's all that the introduction really needs. So if you're looking for something to stop the rain and moisture getting in to that ceiling void and rotting out the front of the joists underneath, this should be the video for you. This profile comes in two different profiles. One is sort of more of a flat one, and this is the undulating one. I got this at Bunnings. Okay, I got this at Bunnings. I didn't get the sponge, the expandable sponge that I sat on the back of the gutter from Bunnings. I found what Bunnings had was unusable, not just bad quality, but unusable. I got another sort after buying from Bunnings. Bunnings is usually very good, but in this instance what they had wouldn't do the job, and I got the sponge from elsewhere. But I got this plastic from Bunnings. Yeah, I think that just about concludes it. Don't forget to clean and paint or apply silicone inside the gutter before you put the plastic capping on, because once the capping's on you won't be able to get to the gutter. I can recommend the silicone after waiting a year and seeing that it's the same as when I first put it down, but I would recommend using sandpaper and sandpapering the underneath, the mating surface to the tin. Okay, that could provide a better bond with your silicone. I wouldn't use the roof and gutter silicone. I'd use the other sort. You'll find it in the video if you pan through what I used on this second section here. I think it's something like it's wet area silicone, bathroom silicone. Okay. Okay, so that concludes it. The video is about to start. The work was started, of course, about a year and a half ago. As I say, it's something like the 6th of the 6th, 2022 now. The finishing of the work was around about the 6th of the 6th, 2021. Also, I've got a video here. This there's a gutter here that wouldn't drain, so I got cement sheet or eave sheet. I placed a piece of pine timber underneath it for support. I applied silicone to the top of the cement sheet, and now in heavy downpour the rain will just come down and either go over the edge or in the gutter there and bypass this gutter here. You can see that there's a gutter there, and it goes down there in between the house and the porch roof. Okay, so there's a video uploaded just before this video. Other works is using exterior no more gaps. I had a bit of a leak underneath this this ridge cap area here, and I just started down there and I cleaned it up, and you can see the white areas there. That's the outside no more gaps, and that's fixed it. And there's also a short video on that. But anyway, the end cap video coming right up. Okay, so a few months ago it was raining heavily, and I'm looking and there's droplets falling down across the front here, and I'm thinking, how can it be even? What is it? And the funny thing was that it was coming down from the fascia, not the gutter. So it's coming through in between the gutter and the fascia, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe the water's running over the lip and underneath and down the fascia board, but you know, that wasn't the case. And I went up and checked, and the gutter, there was no water in it. So I'm thinking, what's going on? You know, there's a gutter around the outside of the house here that I patched up with silicone. I treated the rust and patched it up with silicone, and I'm thinking, okay, it's flowing up over the top of the gutter, and this is cement sheet running along the top of the cement sheet, hitting the fascia board and just coming out that way. But that wasn't the case either. Over the years there has been some rot. I had to replace the end of this area here. That's renewed. So, you know, whatever the situation is, and I actually know what it is now that caused that rot, you see. And we've got situations like, especially here, where you can see the water comes through. Okay, so we have to do something about that. I'll go up on top and explain what's going on. Okay, but first of all, we're down on the driveway here, and when I zoom in, you'll be able to see along there the fascia, and we can see where the water's been coming through there. So also we can see that it's not dripping over the top edge of the gutter. It's coming directly through that gap, right? And what's happening is, on the roof I'll show that there's water run back. So because the tin's fairly level, the water's sitting there on the edge and slowly running back and under and missing the gutter. Okay, well, I'm guessing that the snake is going to win, and I suppose this work will have to wait until another weekend when our snake friend moves on. But anyway, that's the that's the top of the deck roof there. And what's happening is the water's going to the edge, and that's fairly level. And the edge, maybe from people working and standing on that, has bowed a little bit just through there. And so the edge is very level. And the water is hitting the edge and running back. Now I've got a few options. I can put a bead of silicone right on the edge, and that will create a lip, and the water will hit that and drip down into the gutter running across the front there. Another thing I can do is bend the very edge of the lower parts of the undulation down to create a lip, and the water will hit that and drip down into the gutter. Now there was another issue there, and what that is the edge of the corrugated iron doesn't really come out all that much. So if you have a straight drop down into the gutter, it's almost hitting the back of the gutter. So by bending the corrugation, by bending the edge down, I'm getting closer to the back edge of the gutter. So I do have something else to go on with, and the snake is starting to take an interest of me, and he's looking at me. He's starting to move now. I've woken him up, So that's his head, and his yeah, he's eaten something because his belly just here is swollen. So he's thinking of getting out of here, and so am I. Okay, I've worked out why the snake's trapped up here, and that's because I removed the ladder for a project. I'm also into abstract art, and I've done a painting during the week. I used that to put the canvas on. It's got 2 screws, one either side. So I've removed that, and the snake can't get down, you see. So the snake will clear out tonight, and I'll continue on probably tomorrow. Okay, it's the 14th of the 4th now, and our friend is gone. So okay, let's go and have a look at the this problem here. Okay, well, one thing that's surprising is there does seem to be enough fall, so I'll just show the so that's falling that way. If I lift the back up, then we can see that there's ample runoff. It's not bowed anywhere. And yet we can see where the water gathers here on the end. And if you get up here in the morning when the dew's been on the sheet, you'll get pools of water here. Now that's the gutter, and the gutter ends just there. Okay, so there is a bit, but not much of extension over the gutter. So just see, if I get that level, oops, that side's broken, so if I get that reasonably level, then we see here, I might be able to get an idea of how much. Looks like 30 millimeters back from the edge there. So okay, so in summary, what I'm seeing here is it should work. There shouldn't be any problems. There seems to be ample roof sheet over the gutter. There's a fall, because I'll take you over to the unit. Okay, that's where I live. That's my room, or my small unit, and we can see that there's a bit of fall, but not much. Okay, so that's hardly any fall at all, and yet there's very little water collection here that I could see, but the end is bent down a bit, and that's the difference. So they've come along, they've installed it, they've bent this down, I'd say maybe 4 mil down, and this very edge is down a bit further, so that's all it takes. Okay, so it's not much. So now we'll go back over to the porch. So that's that's a bit of a surprise. It should work, but it doesn't, so I'll just try and retain my balance and my breath. So what happens is it runs back up under there. I don't know how good a job I'm doing here of I can't really see the camera or what I'm filming. I can see my finger, Where is it? Here. Okay. So what it's doing is it's collecting here and it's running down and back up underneath there. And it's dripping down. It's dripping down on that. So it's going up under, dripping down on that. And it's going in between along the back of the gutter there, and down in between the back of the gutter and the fascia. Oh yeah, it's running back underneath and dripping onto the cement sheet, see? So that's cement sheet. So anyway, I was going to get sheet, attach it underneath with silicone, and then rivet it, and then bend the end down. However, I think I've found a better way, and that's with a type of foam that you pack up underneath from the bottom of the gutter to the underneath of the sheet. And it's like a foam with apparently bitumen on it. But what we might do is try and catch it in the act just for educational or entertainment purposes. What I'll do is I'll tip this water along here, we'll let it go down, and we'll try and catch it in the act. Just do about 5 or 6 rows. That's going down there now. So okay, let's go and have a look at it in action. Hopefully it's not going to do it, is it? Okay, what I'm going to do here is what I'm going to say is, in heavy rains, my newest theory is heavy rains, what's happening is the rain is going in on an angle, okay, and going onto the cement sheet and dripping down behind the gutter and the fascia. I think that's possibly okay. That's what's happening. Okay, well, I've been wrong before, you know, that's absolutely for sure. Now, I went looking for that undulating sheet, same profile that was bent down on the end. However, there's no such thing, but what there is this foam, and it seems to have some type of thickening agent, maybe a type of okay, it could be very thin bitumen. So okay, I'll go and study this for about a couple of minutes, and then we'll see if we can get this happening. Okay, what I'm getting so far is that you're supposed to compress this before putting it into place so that it will expand and create a watertight seal. This Tremco, It says here standard corrugated profile, which is mine, what I need, profile D. So we come around here and it's yeah, profile D. So this, well, I'm assuming it looks like it's going to match the profile there. So the compression, you know, that's for dirt, is only slight compression, but when you get up to heavy rain, which is me, it's 70% compression, and standing water is 75. So, but you know, I can put it in place, looking like maybe this one possibly could be. It's in sections, so you know, one be easier to see when I get it in out of the bag. It's got one side is straight and the other one is undulated. It looks like I may not have to stagger the rows, because we've got these different formations on the end here. So yeah, okay, well, I'll go up, I'll clean the gutter, and we'll start putting it on. Okay, what I'm going to have to find is some foam to go under that, so to pack it out. Another problem is down this side here. This was all rusted out when I got the place, and I had to replace the gutter, but the back edge of the gutter isn't as high, so okay, I might have figured out a way to deal with the original gutter with the high back on it. You can take these two, so that's one piece. You can take these two, you can turn them around, and you can form one piece with two sides. So here's the high side of the back of the gutter. I can rest that on there and come along with this one and go under the corrugations. So that'd be looking a little bit like this, but slightly different. Another option I have is expansion foam, and just spraying expansion foam along there, letting it expand and trimming the bit that sticks out the front, you know. With that one, I'd say could possibly just about flip a coin. So that's the problem there, although this might be just high enough. There is a gap there. I might be able to go all the way along with the foam. But you can see it better here. What's happening is the rain's coming in here and dripping, falling down behind the back of the gutter and going down there, and that's the fascia there in between the cement sheet. So, you know, if I put expansion foam along there, I can't get that out. You see, if that doesn't work, or if it, you know, mould or rot develops behind there, you know, it's very hard to get that out. Whereas the packet of expansion foam I bought today, that's removable. See. Well, I think what's going to happen here is I'm going to get a piece of metal and put it on the back of the gutter on the left hand side there, and build that the height up to match the right hand side here. I'm going to get that foam rubber, I think it's 25 by 25 block lengths, and then I'm going to put this on top. If that doesn't work, then I'll have to get the expansion foam. But I've got a terrible feeling that I've been here before, that I've worked all of this out before and completely forgotten about it. So yeah, I remember having foam on my list and and metal and things, and just not knowing what it was. So yeah, I must be getting old or something. Okay, so what I'm doing at the moment is I've got a piece of 30mm packing sheet there, and I've got that underneath there, and that's what I need, that width for the foam. So I've measured up from the gutter, the bottom of the gutter, up to the bottom edge there, and that happens to be 90. I've measured down, and I'm going to trim this. I can keep the bent edge on the top, but I can't keep it on the bottom. So okay, I'll get that done now. Okay, so the silicon's on. The silicon's vertical so that if there is any build-up of water behind, it can come down in between. So I've got some bricks there to hold it up against the back of the gutter there. Okay, 21st of the 4th, 2021. So in other words, you know, middle of coronavirus, COVID-19, and the crypto craze. So anyway, back to the job. So during the week I got this this foam filler, expanding foam, not in a can but on a roll. I think it's 25 by 25 millimeters, and I'll put that on the top of the gutter, and then this will go on top of that. So that's what I was talking about before. Interestingly enough, during the week I also found this plastic profile, and it does bend down at the front. Okay, it's in the right profile. The information I can share with you is the information tag there. Okay, and that will slip down like that. It'll only go back so far, because you might be able to see with the design it sort of goes down to a low front here, so that won't ride over the top ridge. It goes flat here and then it drops down. So we've only got, say, from the flow over, we've got 40-45 millimeters there to go into the gutter, but I think it's better than nothing. So that'll be a second backup. So I'll put the foam on and then I'll install this. I'll have to check out the screw heads there. So that was at Bunnings. I found that at Bunnings Australia. Okay, so what I'll do now is just take out the bricks, and then we're right to install the foam. Got a little bit of water here, and that goes up. This seems to be a low point. There's the drainage there. Okay, and that goes up to this point. I think that's just dew from the night time, and the rest is dry. Okay, so that's it there. The top one, polycarb ACS flashing, sun tough, and 127 by I don't know, 5 by 15 centimeters. Wool Coro Clear. On second thoughts, I'm going to call that VAL as in valley, Coro as in corrugated, and clear being clear plastic. Okay, so that's it there. What I did was I got it together in the gutter before I put it inside the cavity there. Okay, so that's what we've got. I don't know how well that's going to show up, but that's all the way along. Okay, one surprising thing I did find out about this expanding foam was where it's too compressed, it will tend to warp. So where I measured for the what I thought was the right distance with a bit of compression, it's actually better for it to be fairly loose and have a bit more room. So at the two ends it's compressed. Where it's too compressed it just moved a bit, but I was able to correct that. Before I forget, which happens on a fairly regular basis, as you might already know, do this work before it gets too hot. Okay, so first thing in the morning, this would be your first go across before you go on with other work, because this iron heats up pretty fast. It gets quite hot up here. Okay, well there's a little bit of a problem, and that is that you'll see that there's two ridges close together here. So there's one there, and then two here, and that's where there's a join. So in other words, the joins aren't consistent with the ups and downs of the roof sheeting. So that's going to be a problem. So pretty much I'm only going to be able to use a piece the same width and then join it by overlapping just as it's done on the sheet join. So that's quite expensive. I think this is about $30 a pop. Okay, well you know, I can't use an offcut, so I'll have to have an entire piece for every piece of sheet. That's going to cost about $300 to go across the top here. Anyway, that's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, that's an inherent design that the two top ridges will be closer together than the general curvature of the sheeting. But that's a mock-up there of what's going to happen along the top of the sheet. What I intend to do is silicone a bead along the front here, and then wipe it flat on the plastic. So that will create a barrier for the water, and the water will have to go up and down. I've cut out the screw hole there, and that tucks under the capping. Okay. So as for this part here, there's not much I can do except maybe notch out a piece here. In fact, that's what I'll do. I'll notch out a piece so that it comes to the end there. At this point, a good tip is when you install this underneath the other one, so it goes in like this. This can't twist. Okay, so you have to make sure that when you join them together and push them into the cavity, that this doesn't get turned throughout the process. Okay, well it's all back out. The reason is this poor quality expanding foam from Bunnings. So what I've done is I've got some more of this. I went back to the shop. I got 25 by 25 millimeter square pack of this to put underneath. I'm going to check. Apparently I was told at the shop that I can't get different thicknesses with this. I want to double check that before installing the 25 or the block expanding foam underneath this. I'd rather it one piece. Okay, so that's the real expanding foam. This was about $100, and that's the information there. I also got 10 Coro wall flashing, and looking at $300 there, so somebody's onto a real winner. I had to buy it, and yeah, not cheap. Okay, this is obviously of far better quality, so this is the same manufacturer, and that's the top, and they don't make a thicker product, but they do provide this packer for underneath, and that interlocks well. It's got a sort of a bitumen finish that means it won't slide, and I'll just show you how I'm installing it. Okay, yes, that press tight is a much better product. It hasn't turned, it's just stayed untwisted, so we can see that it's just the sun's gone out, but however we can see there. Okay, so there we go. So that it rides across the different heights quite well. So this is a short height from there to there, and then it increases from this point back. It's an extra 10-15 millimeters thick here. So yeah, that's really good stuff. It's got a good wall to it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's. The extra work I did was I just lay on my belly and just made sure I ran underneath the foam to make sure that it was the same margin, about 5mm or 7mm hanging over the edge, and on the inside I used this small pick, the back of the pick. That's what you use on any sort of rubber surfaces, just to push anything in and line it up. So I'll tell you what, I think it's a good idea to have a couple of weeks break away from this work. I'll come back and inspect it from time to time, just to make sure that it's not moving or pushing itself out, and then we'll install the clear capping to the front here. Is it a better solution not to have any foam filler in that gap and have the circulation, and just to put the clear capping on now? I'm sure there's every possibility, you know, only time will tell. So if in 4, 5, 7, 10 years from now you drop me a line, I'll be able to let you know. Okay, it's the 8th of the 5th 2021, and now we're going to start to put the plastic capping on the edge along there. So yeah, when this work is complete, that's I think the end of the 3rd go across. So there's been a renovation on the house, the garden, garage, and separate unit that I live in. Once that's done, then hopefully, you know, I pray that this is the end of the work, and there's no more workload, and I can start to live my life after 11 or 12 years of owning this, part ownership of this place. Could be more like 13 years of ownership, and I've got other interests to pursue. For instance, I'm looking into music production as a hobby instead of vehicles. So anyway, I digress. Let's get this work done. Okay, so here's the capping, and I'll show that again just in case it didn't work out on a part of the video elsewhere. It's just a undulating profile with a front cap that drops into the gutter, so it'd be similar to just doing this, say for instance. So you didn't get wind and rain blowing moisture up underneath into the cavity here and rotting out what's underneath. I got this at Bunnings. Like I said earlier, I'm just feeling a bit dizzy at the moment. And yeah, okay, well let's get on to it. This is a profile to slip up underneath the end cap there, and then it has to latch underneath each joint. So I've undone this holding this side, and this, when long enough, will go under there. This side will go over the top of that. Just a sec. Okay, it's alright, I'm back. Alright, so we're just going to do that all the way along. And I'm going to attempt to use silicone. So I'm going to put a silicone bead along here so that it squishes out the end. It must come out the end so that the water doesn't flow over. And then it's got to be made flat, and these bolts have to be checked out. So, okay. Okay, at this stage I have checked the foam, that it's all sitting properly, and yes, it's looking good. So I'll just pan along there. Okay, so that hasn't moved. Okay, so that's all good. Okay, it's always a very good idea, especially with plastic, to do tests just to make sure that it's going to stick. Now, this plastic is very hard, and it's got a very shiny type of non-bonding finish. So we want to make sure that the silicone is going to bond to the plastic, and that's actually not the case. The silicone won't bond to the test strip here. It will bond to the metal. Okay, see there, that's, I can put all my effort into that, but that won't really come away from the iron. However, the plastic's a different story. I'll demonstrate that now. Okay, so unfortunately, for some reason it can bond to the plastic. Okay, we see around this edge here that's bonded and it won't come away, but the rest, I think it's got to do with how much air circulation it can get. That's well and truly bonded to the steel. It hasn't bonded to the plastic, only the outside, and that's not really sufficient. So I think that there's no air getting to the silicone because it's bonded on the outside, and the inside's got no air. Okay, let's go and have a look at some other tests. Okay, so we've got a few more experiments here. One is a sanded experiment where I've sanded the inside of both facing surfaces and put silicone in there just to see if that'll bond the silicone to the plastic. This This is an aerated, so that's the 13th of the 5th, 21, and at the moment we've got 20th of May 2021, so that's 7 days old, so the silicon should have had plenty of time to cure. This is an aerated experiment where I put the silicon on and then I've pulled it apart and put it back on 3 times. Okay, so I'll put the silicon on, then I've ripped it apart and put it back on, ripped it apart, put it back on, and ripped it apart, put it back on one more time. So that was done on the 12th of the 5th, 21. So that's got an extra day on this one. So that's 8 days old, the silicon. And this is a non-aerated one. This one won't work for sure. So this one's similar to the one on the tin roof. It hasn't been sanded and it hasn't been aerated. That's on the 12th of the 5th, so that's the same as this one. Now the silicon on the outside does stick very, very well. Okay, so it's not that the silicon won't stick to the plastic. It will stick to the plastic, but when you put them together, there's no oxygen getting to the silicon and it won't bond. Okay, so I'll just demonstrate that the silicon is bonded to the outside where it could get oxygen. Okay, so that's well and truly bonded. That's a successful test. Okay, that's fairly successful. Okay, so that's the results of that one. So what we're going to do, I think it'll be, I'll pull these apart, we'll find that it doesn't work. Then we'll go to this one. That's the aerated one, and this is the sanded one. That I just tried to focus it and it wouldn't go into focus. So I expect these to pull apart. That's not the case. Not the case. Okay, it is the case. Okay. So if I can pull that off by hand, then that's a failed experiment. Okay. So that went like that, and we've got that. That's not satisfactory, so it's pulled off here, and on this surface here, that's on the outside, and that has bonded very, very well. Okay. Okay, our next experiment is the aerated one. Now, this experiment, if I can get it into focus, will be interesting. Okay, let's have a look. This is the aerated one. So I'm expecting this to be, it's a fairly good chance of being successful. Okay, so I'm going to use the pliers and let's see. No, that's not successful. Well, that's interesting. So it's definitely the oxygen's not getting to the silicon once you press it down, you see. It's a little bit like it still being in the tube before it comes out of the tube. Okay, that's not successful. The manufacturers of this this product are going to have to roughen the the plastic up. I'm assuming. It's not good to assume, of course. This could fail. This one could fail as well. Okay. Okay. If this failed, you would have to use maybe a type of builder's glue. I'd have to set up new tests with builder's glue. Okay. But you know, over time builder's glue can get hard and crack, and this can still come off. I can't really screw it down because I'm putting holes in the sheet. I might be able to rivet it, maybe big rivets, I'm thinking, but the edge along here is still going to have to be waterproof because you've got your tin sheet and the edge. Okay, and so say that's the gutter along there, you're going to put that on top of the tin sheet, and water's still going to come in under here slowly and trickle down, and can still get in behind. Okay. Let's see now. This is the roughened experiment. So. Okay, so let's get our backs into this one. Yes, and that's failed as well. Okay, so all right, so the results are in. So that's no good. So the results are that yes, silicone will stick to plastic on the outside if it's exposed to oxygen. Okay, that's, oh no, it won't. You know what I mean? It's not, yeah, no, it won't. Okay, well that's a surprise. Okay, I'll just switch off the camera and gather my thoughts. Okay, here's my thoughts on this. I can see now that silicone, in fact, won't bond to the plastic. In fact, it won't even properly bond if it's on the outside of the plastic. We established surprisingly there. And of course, the heat and cold is going to, eventually the plastic's going to come off, and you'll have silicone left on the roof sheeting. Okay, so what this means is possibly some other type of product has to be found. That could be builder's glue, but I now have to gather my thoughts and set up a whole lot of new experiments at this point in time. Okay, it's 2nd of June, 2nd of the 6th, 2021. I have a hernia operation in 6 days, so I have to get this work done now, including finishing off the capping on top of the roof. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the full length. I think it's 1 meter. I'm going to use 2 rivets on the 2 outside edges and 2 in between. So that'll be 6 rivets with silicone, some type of silicone. I think it'll probably be the maybe the 11FC Sika product, which is petroleum based, along the very outside edge, just to make sure that the water doesn't get underneath and goes over the top and down. Here we have to remember that not only are we dealing with very high temperatures in summer, but we're also dealing with water. So it's not, and we're trying to stick plastic down, which isn't going to work obviously because of the tests. So the rivets will hold it down, and the silicone will make sure that no water gets underneath. What I'll do is I'll pan around and just explain everything here about the tests. So this is the second lot of tests that we're going to look into. I'll explain each test and then show an example. So this is a test board. This is a Sika products. This on this side is the 11FC. It comes in a type of dispenser, and this is the Sikaflex Pro that comes in this hot dog type of packaging. These are the tests to see how the Sikaflex would clean up, and it cleans up with fuel solvent. These are the products that they insert in between cement slabs just to keep the water out, or try and keep it out. It's petroleum based, it's not full silicon, although it is similar. So this is the product that I've got my money on as being the best out of all of them, although it probably not going to be good enough to hold the plastic down on its own. So anyway, this is Sikaflex 11FC, and these are the tests here. And this is Sikaflex Pro. You get this in Bunnings or your biggest hardware outlet. And these are the tests here for the Sikaflex Pro. Now, just judging by the structure, this was done. These tests were done about 3 days ago, so they've had time to cure. That was done on the 29th of the 5th, 21. It's now the 3rd of the 6th, 21. So 3 days later. The actual structure or form, I would say that this one, compared to this, you might be able to see there that this is a harder type of silicon. This is less hard. It's much the same as silicon. Okay. But this is a harder one, and this is a softer type of cured finish. So this could be a better product so far as longevity is concerned, although I see here that it is in fact not sticking to the cement sheet at all, or not really satisfactorily. Some areas it is. Okay, this one, that's also, it seems to be peeling off a bit. Okay, that's the Sikaflex Pro, and now for the 11FC. That's a harder compound, and that seems to be sticking better. That could be the better product. Yeah, in fact, yep, that's definitely a better product. You can see there, it's not coming away as easily. Okay, so that's the product I'll be using. So surprisingly, this hot dog type of dispenser, the product in that doesn't seem to be as strong. It doesn't have as good adherence to the cement sheet. And this is the more industrial one. This could be better for adhesion and a glue type of product, and this is the one they put in the the joins in the cement slabs. Okay, so I'll just pan around and explain that this is the original tests made on the 12th of the 5th, 21. So these are more than half a month old, and it's just to see, is the the longer that the silicon's on the plastic, does that help with adhesion? You know, in that the silicon's curing. So that's that test. We've got many different tests here. This is going from the least expected to work to the most expected to work. This is normal silicon, but a thin bead, and we see that the silicon does stick very well on top of the plastic. This is wet area silicon, thin bead. This is builder's glue, used for gluing down flooring, but that's I'm not going to use that because that's not meant for outside or heat, extreme heat. This is wet area, thin bead, and builder's glue. The plastic's sanded, by the way, to provide a key. This is Sikaflex 11FC, which is that one there, and this is Sikaflex Pro, which I thought would be better, which actually isn't. That's that one there. Okay, so we'll do those tests. We'll pull them apart and see what results we get in. This is a list of observations. Okay. And we'll go through those tests. I'll read them out and explain them after in this section of the video. This is the roof and gutter silicon. That's what I've been using as the normal silicon. This is the builder's glue, and this is the wet area silicon. That's what I'll be using in the actual putting the end caps down. Okay, this is what I'm going to use to pull the tests apart. We're going to do one of these at the start to see if how that compares to the earlier test. This one goes back under the house to be tested after my operation to see if a longer cure time, or the longer the silicon is on the end cap, to see if that is better. Okay, so this is the original silicon test. This is about, instead of being say 3 days old or a bit more, we've now got, this test has been set up for a couple of weeks. So let's see how that goes. Okay, I can see that's not working. We can see that's coming straight apart. So that's the problem with silicon, you see. Okay. So that's why I'm continuing to do these tests, because we've got this situation where the silicon's not adhering. This is not sanded, okay? This wasn't sanded, so we'll continue on, because these other tests I have sanded to provide a better surface. Okay, the next test is normal silicon with a thin bead, and this has been sanded. The mating surfaces have been sanded, so we see that that's got a very good adhesion on the outside, smooth, non-sanded surface. Okay, if it okay, that is coming off, so that has failed. But there is a thin bead here in the middle, and one of the tests that I've got on the sheet of paper is to actually rub the silicon into the surface before putting it together, and that could actually work, but that'll be too late because I will have put the end caps on. So normal silicon, thin bead instead of a thick bead, and I'm hoping that more air will get to it. But anyway, let's have a look. Bit tougher to get the just bear with me for a few minutes. Okay, that's on the outside, so there's no silicone on the inside, although it might look like. The only silicone that's stuck, and this has been sanded, is here, 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 there, and there. That's on the outside, so that's failed. And that's normal silicone, that's not wet area silicone. Okay, now this has been sanded, the mating surfaces have been sanded. This is wet area. It's a thin bead, made on the 26th of the 5th, 21. The previous one was also on the 26th of the 5th, 21. So yeah, 3 days old. So let's see. This is wet area silicone. Oh, interesting. Okay, that's interesting. We've got better adhesion and better sticking with the wet area silicone. Okay, so the previous test was the just the roof and gutter silicone. Okay, that's for all the previous, and this is the first test with the wet area silicone. And you know, that's fairly good. There's adhesion, good adhesion on both surfaces. There's nothing on the outside, so that's an improvement. That's pretty well what I was looking for. That was tougher to pull apart, and there's also distributed adhesion. And again, this has been sanded. Okay. Okay, this is Builder's Bog. It is petroleum based. It's not water based. However, I think that the heat will affect this, so I don't really trust this. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It is only an experiment after all, so okay, that's no good. Okay, that's no good. Has it cured? No, it hasn't. Okay, it hasn't yet cured. This bit here is cured. This bit here is not. Okay. That is not dried, and that's 3 days old. It was aerated, it was pulled apart and put back together. I wouldn't trust that outside anyway, but that's interesting to know. What we might do is just save this, and we'll do this after, when this has had more time to dry. So that's the wet area, which is also good to see how that'll go over time. But the wet area is acceptable. So I may not have to put the rivets in. We'll save this one for later. The thing about using rivets is you can remove the end cap. So if you had to remove the end cap for some reason, you could drill out the rivets and just take it off, because it'll only have a thin bead of wet area silicone on the back edge of it along here. Okay, So that goes down into the gutter, so the water doesn't blow up inside that cavity above the gutter and below the roof sheeting that rots out the wood on the front there. But okay, well anyway, let's get on with it. So this is the 11FC. That's this one. Okay, so let's see how that goes. We've got some bits on the outside here. That is stuck very well to the... Oh no, okay, that's a fail. Okay, so it's looking like the wet area, silicon is the best so far. That's a complete fail. So let's see. Yeah, no, that's absolutely no good. Okay, so that one is that test there, and it's no good. So this was sanded as well. Okay, that's no good. Okay, and this is the Sikaflex Pro. So this is this one here, which is the industrial strength one. Sikaflex Pro, the hot dog, which I'm describing the packet it's in. 29th of the 5th, that's now the 2nd of the 6th, so 29, you know, 1, 2, couple of days then. Sanded, mating surface has been sanded, brushed on, I think that means, oh okay, this was put on with a paintbrush and it was pulled apart and put together, so it's been aerated to help the curing process. But let's see, no good at all, complete fail. Okay, that's good to know. So this, as I say, is possibly good enough to hold it. I was pretty impressed with the adhesion of the test. So let's look into that one a little bit more. Okay, so that's the wet area, silicon there. So let's have a look at that, just evenly distributed. It has come away, in fact, I don't think it's come away completely. There does seem to be a bit of a silicon surface even where it's separated. You know, this could be wishful thinking, but you know, it does seem it's on the underneath of it. It's on both mating surfaces, and it's bonded pretty well. You might be able to see there that it's actually got a thin layer of silicon even where it's separated. The fingernail test is, well, it's not the best, but it may not be completely cured yet, you see. I am able to gouge that away from the mating surfaces. Now it's looking like the rivets again. This is the better of the all the tests, and it may not have time to cure properly. There is that other test under the house, so that'll be after the operation, which could be a month before we look at that result, and that will be on the video. So this video is as a documentation, and also for you the viewer to make up your mind. It's looking like the rivets again. I do have to get this work done. An operation, you never know if you're going to like make it through. So yeah, that's a tough one. It's looking like the rivets and wet area along the back edge. Okay, well, let's do it. Okay, let's do the list. This is a number of notes that I've made up. We'll go through them one by one. It's a bit of a scribble. It's a bit messy, yes, but I have a lot to get through. Okay, well, never mind this one, but okay, a test I have to do is actually rubbing the silicone onto the plastic. So on one of the tests I'm going to do in future is to rub the silicone on just to make sure. You know, I have seen some videos where, you know, that's been beneficial. So this was just put on with a, you know, it was just sort of put on like thin bead. The two caps were pushed together and that's it. But we're going to actually do an experiment with rubbing it on. Wear throwaway clothing. Yeah, I thought that this may not cure. I thought that it would stay soft, and that would be its application, and after it's cured. And so if you got it on your clothing, it'd be like grease, and it'd go through the washing machine and contaminate everything. But that's not the case. It does form a skin on the outside of it. So probably don't have to wear throwaway clothing. The reason is, yes, it will get on the clothing, and silicone won't come off clothing, but it will dry, and so you can rewash it and use it. Is Sika 11FC, are these two products the same? No, they're not. This one isn't as tough, but I think it's got another application. This could be for sort of like adhesion, and this could be like just a gap filler. Glue gun. You know, could I use a glue gun to glue the end caps together? That's an experiment. I don't know. My guess is that the heat could affect it, because if you've got a glue tube and you warm it up and you melt it, you know, that same process will happen on the roof. Although if the molecular form is changed, if it's changed from a silicon to a plastic, then it could work. But I don't think it'll stand up to the test of time using a glue gun with the heat and the cold as well. The heat could re-melt the glue from the glue gun with, you know, the heat from the roofing in summer, and it could melt again. Also, it could become brittle over time, right? So the glue gun, if you want to do your own tests, you could try a glue gun, but also after you put the glue on, it's going to form a skin, and there's going to be too much time before, unless you've got an industrial quick glue gun, there's going to be too much time before putting the glue on and sticking it down. Okay, so it'll form a skin, and it'll probably won't adhere. So that's a long shot, the glue gun. Super glue, mechanic at work, you know, he said, what about super glue? Well, super glue it probably won't melt with the heat, but it'll become brittle, and I think the end cap will separate and just sort of shift and detach from the roof sheeting. Yeah, we've seen the experiment on the cement sheet there. We've looked into that. With the Sikaflex 11FC, there is another dispenser, but it's got a bigger thread on the end. This is a standard type of nozzle, although this thread for this nozzle for the Sikaflex is different to the Sellies. Okay, to these Sellies roof and gutter, Sellies liquid nails, and Sellies wet area. Okay, so you won't be able to use one of these nozzles on this. I did consider no more gaps, and also considered plasterer's glue, but plasterer's glue and no more gaps are water soluble, and so they're not going to work outside being around water. I did consider using tar from a big pot, 4 litre pot of tar that you can get at hardware shops, But again, the heat is going to melt the tar. It's not going to be a type of composite material or material that's going to stay there. It's going to be heat affected, and then on very hot days the end caps will shift. One of the tests I was going to do was going to be that new thicker quickset silicon, just to see if it had a different type of disposition or curing result. I can no longer find quickset silicon, so I'm assuming that they took it off the market or it's in another shop. The last one on the list was will silicon stick to silicon? So I have done that test, and let's see what the results are there. And also, will the Sikaflex, will the Sika product stick to silicon? We need to know that in case the end cap blows off, and then we have to stick to silicon. If we can't get the silicon off, and we have to put the new silicon in the different silicon in the same place, will that stick to the old silicon? So let's get the results of that test, and then I'm going to have to get the work done. So just very briefly, the previous section of the video where I was working on the end caps, that's how much I got done. I got half of it done, and you notice here that it has come away from the silicon. It's holding fairly well with the parts of the silicon on the front there, but you can see there and there that it has come away, but not completely. So what could happen here is I could just stick it down, I could keep going, but instead of the roof and gutter silicon, I'll use the wet area silicon, and if it does look like it's coming away, then I can put the rivets in. Okay, I don't want to put rivets in unless it's absolutely necessary, because if in future this comes off, people aren't going to come up here and put silicon in the small drill holes, and over time, you know, water will get in and it could again unintentionally rot out the wood underneath. So I'll put the rivets on the top ridge, not the underneath, so that there's less water, because if I put it in this ridge here, then water will flow down in that hole. You know, I'm talking about 10-15 years if it does come off. I think that's what I'll do. I'll keep going, but with a different type of silicon, the wet area silicon, and I'll keep an eye on it, and if I need to, then I'll put the rivets in. So I've got a plan. Okay, so let's do this test. This test is to see if the silicon and Sikaflex will stick to silicon. So let's get that done. Okay, this is silicon on silicon. Okay, it's a bit of a shame about the angle of the light. Can't really see it properly, but this is the silicon, so that's a good sign. Let's try to see there, that's stuck well and truly to the silicon. So this bit here is stuck onto this bit here. This is the original test to see if the silicon would stick onto the tin roof. So that's, yeah, that's good. Okay, that's stuck really well, although it will remove, but I think this is still the second layer of silicon, so that's a pass. Okay, so will it stick to the tin roof? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So the silicon is separating from itself instead of from the tin roof, so that's a pass. Okay, here's another test area. So where the tape is, we've got Sikaflex, and where there's no tape, we've got silicon on silicon. So we know that silicon will stick to silicon. That's some water there, that's made no difference. Is this normal silicon or wet area? I'm not sure. I don't think it's wet area. It could be. Okay, but this is Sikaflex, and no. Has the Sikaflex cured? No, it hasn't. Okay, so we'll leave these two tests for later, but that's 2 or 3 days, and that hasn't cured, so that goes over the edge and well and truly out of harm's way. Okay, it's still the same day, and so this part of it was done. Now I've done 1, 2, 3 end caps, and I'll film the entire process with this second last one here. For preparation, I've got I had a hot bucket of soapy water and a abrasive plastic scourer, and I scrubbed just along the edge, and then I dried it. So that's what's been done so far. So I'll film the entire process. It's going to take about say 10 minutes. You can put it on fast forward, or you can even fast forward it to the end of the video, depending on how much time you've got. I know people are pressed for time, so I'll just pan over with the hope that later on I'll remember to tell you why all of these bits and pieces are up here. But for now, it's just probably the most important process is filming this one cap installation there. So I'll do that now. Okay, just a reminder to get what you need out of this video. Do your own research, do your own tests, and try and come up with the best way to go about approaching the installation of these end caps. If you have any better ideas than me, please send me a message, and we'll put it on the comments section, and other people can see other ways of going about it. Okay. We're gonna bring it back as far as possible so that it's sitting on the edge here. It is winter, so you don't want to do this work in summer. The roof will be too hot, so I'm going to start on an angle and trim around that way so that there's an overlap here. So you're going to need heavy duty scissors. Just lift up that edge and start going across this way. Put that in the cardboard box, or try to. Okay. Okay, that's all good. So now I'm going to mark this outside edge. We want it to be down as far as possible. We don't want a pool of water here, so I'm going to mark that out a little bit from this. There's a join here. Okay, so this piece of plastic is tucked underneath here. I've undone this, tucked that in, put it on, and then retightened this. So this is the join. The sheet goes from here to here. I'm going to continue that straight down, then come out on the outer edge there. So now, just make sure that's in the shot. I assume it is, so now we've got to undo that one there. I need my hammer. The plastic will tuck up underneath that side. Yes. Okay, also need to cut this one out. Okay, so you're going to need knee pads for this job. It's quite hard on the knees. Okay, so got to sit all the way back, not being jammed by any of the fronts here. So okay, now we need to sand it. This is, I think it's 80 grit sandpaper, so it's fairly coarse sandpaper. Now I have to mark where I'm going to sand, so we're going to have blobs on the front and a line of silicon on the back. So okay, we'll sand it off, brush it off rather. Okay, this is the last chance to make sure it's sitting well. Okay, I think I cut my glove there. So. Okay, let's apply the silicone. I'm going to swirl it around so that it's sitting on the plastic properly. Again, this is wet area silicon. We found that to be the best silicon. Okay, I'm going to put I'll put a bit of silicon along this edge. Okay, put the silicon away. Now we'll place our cap and we'll tuck it underneath the sheet on this side. Make sure it's all positioned properly. So, okay. Making sure that's in the shot. Okay. Okay. Now I've got some microfiber cloth and I'm going to run along the back edge, making sure there's no silicon sticking out. I'm going to attempt to get rid of this, we'll call it a type of spill. Okay, because of that, I'm going to throw this in the garbage bag and get another one. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for this to cure and settle down. Then I'm going to come along and just put a bead in behind and then I'll run along the top like so and clean off the top, because there's going to be water sitting behind this. There's nothing I can do about that. You just got to hope that your roof has got enough of a run. This is fairly level, but you know, if any rust forms, I can paint along here behind it with black rust paint. So, okay. So. I'll tighten up that side just to lock that in. Okay, so I'm sort of umming and ahhing as to whether I should put some bricks on this to weigh it down. You know, if you weigh it down when you take the bricks off, if it doesn't stick properly, it might sort of rise and separate. But I have to have this, because this is fairly level, I have to weigh it down and make sure it's flat. Okay, so what's going to happen now is I'll run the no-mill gaps. I might even film it. I run the wet area silicone behind and also around these screws holding the tin sheet down. That also has to be done, and possibly along there too. So we don't want any of the silicone sticking up any higher than the 1 or 2 millimeters behind here, you see. So we're going to make sure that all the silicone's out of there. Okay, because we don't want any more build up here than necessary. So yeah, that's getting to the end of it now. Okay. So that's the normal normal exterior roof silicone along there. And this is the wet area silicone, that 1, 2, 3, 4 end caps there. Okay, I'll close out this section of the video. I'll finish off the work and then come back to it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, well, thanks for sticking to the watching the video to this stage. I feel as if we're getting toward the nearing the completion stage of this project. Very, very lengthy project, a lot of experimentation, a lot of products that I had to improve on and buy other products. I am the guinea pig in this exercise. There has to be a remedy found for this because a lot of people's porches rot out. And I believe that this is the best way that I found to do this project. We moved on to normal roofing silicone, to wet area silicone. We had to improve on our foam that we put on top of the gutter up underneath the sheet. So, okay, let's start to wrap this up. We'll need a type of texture that will draw on plastic, like a CD texture. I didn't use the small tool. I improved on the paper towel. I didn't need this. I didn't need that knife. We used the microfiber cloth, but you could use any sort of towel. Although I think the microfiber cloth would be pretty good. We ended up using fairly coarse, gritty, I think it's 80 grit sandpaper, and we did end up sandpapering the mating surfaces underneath the plastic cap. The first section was not sandpapered, and the second section was. As I say, I still have to put the silicone bead behind the cap. And we have to silicone around here, around these screws holding the tin down. This will eventually be used once the silicone's behind the end cap to go around the very top of it on a flat profile. Tin snips, we didn't use the tin snips. Of course, we used the end cap. I'll put that. I'll film that again. So that's the product. Oh, feeling a bit faint. Oh. I got that from Bunnings in Australia. We have to cover our hands to make sure the silicone doesn't get on our hands. We need plastic bags to put the silicone in, anything wiped. We used the wet area silicone. We had to get something to remove the screws temporarily and then put them back in. We needed a brush. We need industrial scissors, metal scissors. Okay, we need bricks to weight the end cap. We need bricks to weight the end cap down to make sure that the end cap is weighted down and won't move and is as low down as possible. We had a bucket of soapy water just to clean the metal roof. I dried that with the towel. That was for the experiment. So down on the other side we'll have any other materials that I'll go through right now. So do this work in winter. Don't do it in summer. So yeah, microfiber cloths, gloves, a hammer just to get the rusty, to get the screwdriver in the screw to turn it, holding the roof down. I couldn't find my drill or drill bits, so that's why I've got a spare drill and spare drill bits. So that's gone to another parallel universe temporarily, and that will rematerialise the other screw and the screw bit boxes. So that's what we ended up using underneath, on top of the gutter and underneath the roof sheeting. So that's the stuff from Bunnings, which is very weak unfortunately and didn't work. This stuff did, and we used, this went up underneath the sheeting, and then under that we had the square block type. Okay, so that's set like that. The top of the gutter's there, and underneath the roof sheeting is there. Put all our bits and pieces in a plastic bag or a box. So okay, so that's it for today. We'll call that success. Thoughts just come to mind. Before doing this work, you should consider you won't be able to clean the gutter with your hands. Okay, because the end cap covers the gutter. Okay, so the only way that you could clean the gutter is with a hose, to bring a hose up on the roof. Turn the hose on, there's a hose down there, and spray it clean. But usually this is only for a porch, because you know you've got tiles, and usually with a house you don't have the see, the gutter sticks up higher or level compared to the roof caps. Okay, so you're not really going to get that that blow in underneath the tiles. Okay, and it won't blow down behind the fascia because it's all been designed properly and it's got past council and everything. Okay. Okay, but a porch is different. Okay, you got the gutter further down than the roof sheeting. Highly recommend getting your house in order before you turn 55, to anyone in their 40s or 30s or 20s. 55 for me is when it's sort of come to the point where, yes, I can still do this sort of work, but I probably should start thinking about a change of lifestyle. So just another tip. The other half, this half here, took half of one silicon, we'll call it a syringe for the want of a better name. So you can see down there, that is that comes to about, let's have a look, comes to there where my fingernail is, which is half of a tube. So in other words, from one end to the other would take a full tube of silicon. The gutter has to be at the same level as the roof sheeting, and maybe an undulating gutter can be made to fit up harder against the undulation of the roof sheeting. That is pretty well essential. Otherwise you're just going to get rot along the front when the water blows up behind the gutter, behind the fascia, and drips down on the fascia and rots out the beams of the deck. Okay, it's now the 5th of the 6th, 2021. I've got an operation on Tuesday. It's now Saturday, so I had to finish off today, and today was the best opportunity. What I've done is we've learnt that the wet area silicone is the best, and I've just gone along the back edge there, and then with rubber gloves on I've just put it in, pushed it in the back edge here. Then I've got this plasterer's knife and gone along the top, flat along there, with a bit of build up behind, and I've gone around the screws to seal up the gap there, and I've just made sure that it's gone under the plastic a bit and around the top so that the water can fall off. For some strange reason, the first one that I installed has come away from the roof and gutter silicone the most. Okay, it's a good idea to bring up a board and have knee pads to lean on. Okay, so somebody's got to be the guinea pig, and that was me. So we'll come back and we'll check how it went in 1 year's time. So God willing, I'll speak to you then. Okay, well, it's the 13th of the 6th, 2022. So in other words, you know, we're out of the lockdowns, coronavirus, still here, but we're turning our backs on that, and people have had their time to be to have their vaccinations. So at this stage, of course, you probably saw the start of the video where I gave the information on a year later how the work went. And this is just a bit of a follow-up at the end of the video, just because I'd see a year later, and you know, last year, and here we are 1 year later. I'd just like to say that I was talking about a hernia operation. Now, I had the operation, I did lose weight, I put the weight back on, I'm back to, you know, running around bush track twice and 30 of all my exercises. The lump is still there, so the hernia operation didn't actually take away the lump, and I was told that it could be something else. Okay. So it could be a lipoma, I don't know, but you know, I'm on the other side of it. I went through all that, and I'm okay now. So, you know, basically the stuff here on this side was put down with wet area silicone. This was applied with roof and gutter silicone. The wet area silicone did a better job than the roof and gutter silicone. The wet area silicone was used where I used sandpaper on the underneath of the end cap to provide a better key. Now, did that help? Is that the reason why the wet area silicone was better? I would say I don't think so, but I'd also say that I don't really 100% know. Another thing to be aware of is you can't use this edge capping here if it's put down with silicone and not screws, because I wouldn't use it where there was going to be a lot of leaves and the leaves went into the gutter, okay, because there's a very small gap. So say for instance, if this was put on near this tree here, then a lot of leaves could get into the gutter. I'm just saying that you can't really clean your gutter once this is put on, because it's permanent. Yeah, so what you could do if there was a tree and a lot of leaves, you could put some wire mesh. Okay, you could sit some wire mesh from there to there, just a little bit, so the leaves didn't get in. I mentioned that there was a rotted beam that I replaced a bit of it. I think that could have been due to a nail on the outside rusting, and if you have a nail rusting, liquid or water will flow in along that rust and rust out wood. So there, I'm just saying that there's a possibility that that could have been due to some other effect. Okay, and there could have been multiple effects, like for instance, you know, could have been water could have been getting up in here in a storm and going down the cement sheet. At the start of the video, it was very strange how there were direct lines every so often, you know, along the fascia on the outside when I filmed from the ground down there. That's unusual. That's sort of indicating something like there's a correlation between the undulation of the tin roof and the outside marks on the outside of the paint on the fascia board. And then as I said, there was a bit of rotted wood that I had to replace. That seemed to be due to just simply a nail being exposed and rotting out, and the water and moisture running along that rust in the nail. So this is quite complicated, and I think that by putting the silicone underneath here, this area here, plus putting this over here so that the gutter doesn't flood, and by putting the end cap on, that maybe, you know, holistically, this will bring an end to any problems, and this will be okay for the next 30 years, say. Plus the fact that water can no longer, you know, because driving rain can blow in underneath the roof sheeting and above the gutter. There was say a 50mm gap for it to come in, so that can no longer happen. Okay, well that's it for this work. as I've said before, this this bridge here that I've built out of cement sheet to allow the water just to go straight over the edge and not do any flooding or anything unknown underneath the cement sheet. So yeah, well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope this helps. I've got the plastic end capping from Bunnings, cement sheet from Bunnings. So, like Bunnings or not, that's where I got it from. Hope this helps. Please like and subscribe. Watching the video, I noticed I had several attempts, but wasn't really successful in explaining the nail. So what I meant was that this fascia board, there's a nail going through the fascia board and into the beam to hold the beam. That nail rusted. The water ran along the rust of the nail into the wooden beam, and rotted the wooden beam. Okay, well, all good. Over and out.